Hey, what's up everybody, it's me, Weeb here, back with a brand new What If video. And this new series is What If Tanjiro from Demon Slayer had snow breathing. I'll explain a few things about it as well. If you have not already, please make sure to hit that like button on the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, as well as from other series and anime content from me. So anyway, let's get into the actual video itself before we get into the story. So a few things I'll be explaining is what snow breathing is, what it does, and how Tanjiro is going to get it. Starting off with what actually snow breathing is, it is an advanced technique that is based off of the water style, breathing style for demon slayers. The main difference between water breathing and snow breathing techniques is that snow breathing can be effective against both humans and demons, much more so than water breathing, as well as snow breathing being much more deadly and considered to be much more fatal for those who can actually use it. Right now I'm going to explain all 10 forms of snow breathing that Tanjiro will have access to and can use, and also I'll go into details explaining them. This first part will pretty much me getting into the explanation of what it is rather than getting into the story, at least too deep into the story, but hopefully we'll at least get into the intro of Demon Slayer by the end. So getting into those techniques, we have, starting from the top, number one of the snow breathing forms, the avalanche. This technique is a direct downward strike, with as much weight and power as its name. The user has the option to yell or make any noise in order to tighten their chest muscles, which can increase the power. This technique is a downward strike, so the more power it has depends on how far up you are and your momentum. Blizzard. Using rapid flash strikes while moving around the target, the user can cut at a much faster speed, leaving thin wounds all over the target's body and weakening it with blood loss. Next up is number 3, Icicle. The user uses a sharp jab with their blade to pierce the target from any direction, and it can be used from a longer range as well, depending on where the user is. Fourth form, Frosted Fog. This technique can only be used at night or in cold temperatures. The move allows the user to use their exhaled breath and morph it into objects, and then strike using their fakes as an opening or a distraction. Next we have number 5, which is Hail. This technique requires at least 3 blades to be used, and can be used from the air or the ground. The user throws 2 blades up into the air, or down at the ground depending on where the user is, and while in the air, they hide at least 1 blade while the target's distracted. The user then enters hand-to-hand combat with the target, making the target think that they only have those 2 weapons. And as the blades are approaching the ground, the user then uses a backstep, and throws the final blade in a spinning motion directly at the target. The target will then be forced to move left or right to dodge, thus getting hit by one of the hail blades. The user then can either catch the other blade to use against the wounded target, or then proceed again using hand-to-hand combat. Number 6, the Arctic Fox. This technique allows the user to thin out their muscles similar to how foxes can in order to boost their agility. By controlling their muscle mass, they can sacrifice their power for speed. If this technique is used in conjunction with Blizzard, it can become impossible for the target to catch the user. Number 7, Frost Dragon. This technique manifests in the appearance of a winter variant of the water dragon, and it has pretty much the same use. However, it also can have a numbing effect on the target when it gets hit by it. Next, we have the last 3, which are forbidden techniques. These techniques have been deemed so dangerous by the Hashira that using them is pretty much forbidden, since it can kill the user as well as the target in a brutal way. The first of these 3 techniques is Niflheim. This technique is only to be used when absolutely necessary, just like the other 2. When using Niflheim, the user absorbs all the surrounding heat in the area with a large gasp, and then can use that energy to strike. Those who have survived the attack before, that being only one person, the Flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku, have said that this technique makes the target feel as if though all heat has left their body, and that the user then can seemingly walk forward at a slow pace, lulling the enemy into a calm trance. That's before striking with a blow so powerful that it has destroyed Nichiren blades before, just from the user's end. So it's definitely a powerful technique, but it comes at a cost as well, since you can't move for around 5 minutes after using it. Number 9, Arctic Circle. This one's a little bit on the lower end of the forbidden techniques, since it doesn't have a kickback to the user, but it is pretty dangerous. Similar to the Arctic Fox technique, this technique has the same idea of using muscle control to use cold, and when using Arctic Circle, the target moves around the opponent in a rhythmic fashion. With the target turning the blunt end of the sword towards the enemy, as soon as they slowly close in around the enemy, we'll begin to see after images of the user and lose focus on them. Then, in a spinning jump, the user jumps and drills their blade through the enemy's flesh. As long as the user can surround the target with at least one rotation, this move is pretty much undodgeable. Number 10, Cryogenesis. This move should never be used at all costs and is the most dangerous of all snow breathing techniques. This is a kamikaze move and should never be used unless one is on the very brink of death and is trying to give their allies a chance. This move sacrifices the user's nervous system by expelling all the heat in their entire body as an attack. By using all this energy into a single blow, the user can move at a speed so fast they can fry both their own brain and nervous system as well as their targets, causing a complete standstill and giving an opening of around 10 seconds to an ally, at the cost of their own life. Cryogenesis should never be used at any cost, but it's probably the most powerful of all the techniques from snow breathing, at least the ones that are famously created out of the 10 for now. If you guys have any other snow breathing techniques that you want me to add, list them down in the comments below. I can probably add a few more. Anyway, those are the techniques that Tanjiro is going to learn, but now that you actually have all the techniques listed, let's get into the story itself. So here we go. Tanjiro would wake up that day just like he did any other day, as he would greet his family, his mother, as well as all of his siblings and Nezuko. Tanjiro would tell his mother that he'd be heading down to the village to sell charcoal, and that he'd be back by nightfall, with everyone approving, as all the siblings would then, especially the younger ones, ask if they could go with Tanjiro. Nezuko would wish her brother off with good luck, as Tanjiro would thank her as he then walks off his path down the mountain. He would note how the snow is beginning to melt for the spring season, and that it was almost time for the new season to come. I wonder what will happen this year, he'd be thinking, as he remembers last winter has finally almost come to an end. As Tanjiro was heading down the mountain with his charcoal, he would eventually make it to town and sell charcoal to all of those who had been wanting his for a while now for heat, since the end of winter be coming soon. With Tanjiro selling all of his charcoal like he would have in the original, Tanjiro would eventually head back up the mountain and be pretty late, after he'd been helping people out, just like he would have in the original. As he's heading up the mountain, it's almost nightfall, as he would then find the old man at the bottom of the mountain, telling Tanjiro to stay with him for the night, since he doesn't want Tanjiro to get eaten by demons. Demons? Tanjiro would ask, as Tanjiro walks into the house and would then learn more about the demons from this older man. He would explain to Tanjiro about the demons that live in Japan, and how at nighttime they come out and eat humans, and that those who go outside are doomed. Tanjiro would gulp as he feels fear, and then he feels something within him, almost as if though this would be important later. After that night and Tanjiro goes to sleep, he would eventually leave that morning in a rush to make sure and check on his family, since he has a bad feeling in his stomach and a bad taste in his mouth. Tanjiro still has an incredible sense of smell, impeccable to be honest, and as he gets further up the mountain, he would suddenly smell something. The smell of iron. No, that's blood, Tanjiro would think, as he runs at a fast speed, running with his basket on his back. As he gets up there, he would then see, to his shock, a bloodbath. His entire family had been murdered, as he sees blood covering the floors of their house, and the snow outside covering a pink red, which was now beginning to dry from the sun. No, who would do this? Tanjiro would be shocked and in pain, as he watches in horror as his entire life was fading before his eyes. Wait, no, there has to be at least one who's alive. Anyone. Tanjiro would run up as he sees all of the ripped up flesh, the panels that have been ripped from the side of the house, with almost claw-like fingers. No. Tanjiro would rush as he checks all of his siblings' pulses, his mother's, and finally Nezuko. She's alive! She's alive! Tanjiro would quickly hoist Nezuko over his back as he begins running down the mountain at full speed, saying that he's not going to lose all of his family, he's going to save Nezuko. As he runs, his eyes looking determined. That is, until he falls off the side of the ridge and falls into the snow, rolling into the banks and almost hitting a tree. Nezuko? Are you alright? Tanjiro would quickly get up as he runs over to his sister, with Nezuko beginning to wake up pretty soon, as we suddenly see her beginning to growl as her eyes have a now pinkish tint to them. Nezuko? Nezuko would jump at Tanjiro, as Tanjiro, almost as if by gut and instinct, pulls out the hatchet he had and holds it up in front of him, holding it and blocking himself from her bite. Nezuko! Nezuko would be moving around as she tries clawing at Tanjiro, with her completely out of it, as Tanjiro has no idea what's going on, as the two are fighting. This would be when a man with black hair and dark blue eyes would suddenly strike across, as we see him flashing with a sword as he tries to attack Nezuko. Nezuko! This would be when Tanjiro would dive with his sister and jump out of the way, as he grabs the hatchet with Nezuko now on the ground again, seemingly knocked out. As we see him standing there, he would then look at Tanjiro, who he knows isn't a demon. Who are you? Leave me and my sister alone, Tanjiro would say as he holds his hatchet with his hands. This would be when Gyu would point his blade towards Nezuko and say whatever that thing was before, it's not his sister anymore, and that thing's a demon. This would be when he points at Nezuko, saying that it's going to die. Tanjiro would stand up as he pulls himself from the ground, saying, no, that Nezuko is his sister, and not to hurt her. With Tomioka saying that if he can beat him with that axe, then he'll allow him to keep taking care of that demon. With Gyu preparing his blade. As Tanjiro runs towards Gyu, he would throw the axe into the air, as he then hides behind a tree, using the same tactic that he did in the original. Gyu would not have noticed the axe being thrown just like the original, as Tanjiro lunges with a piece of stick towards him, as Gyu would then prepare to swipe down with the blunt of the blade, knocking Tanjiro to the ground. However, just as he does so, this would be when the axe goes flying right next to Gyu's head and lodging into the tree. This kid's good, actually, he would say, shocked and surprised, to be honest. As his blades pointed down towards Tanjiro, this would be when Nezuko would leap in front of the way and jump, protecting Tanjiro. What? Gyu would be shocked as he sees this demon, seemingly conscious of what's going on, with desperation in its eyes. Can you understand me? Nezuko would have her hands out as she nods, trying to protect her brother, with Gyu eventually deciding to show mercy to the two siblings. Gyu would tell Tanjiro that he's going to send him to a certain old man to learn how to become a demon slayer, and that if Tanjiro actually wants to avenge his family that was murdered, then he's going to have to find a certain man. This man being Muzan Kibutsuchi. Tanjiro would listen intently as he tells Gyu that he's going to become a demon slayer and find Muzan and kill him. He would say this with confidence that he's going to restore Nezuko and bring her back to her former self. Gyu would see the confidence in his eyes as he tells Tanjiro that before he sends him off to the old man, there's something he wants to see and give him instructions on. As he tells him that if he actually can master his training, then he can unseal this letter. Gyu would quickly pull out a piece of paper as he begins writing with a piece of charcoal from Tanjiro a few things down. In this version of events, Gyu is actually a master of snow breathing, as after he had become the water Hashira, he had begun to learn about snow breathing, which is an advanced version of it. And he would decide that if Tanjiro really wanted to learn, this would be the best thing he could do after he had undergone the basic training. He would hand this note to Tanjiro and tell him that once he completed his training with a certain old man, then, and only then, he's allowed to open this letter and read the contents inside. Gyu would also send a second letter, with a raven, as he sends it to Urokodaki, the old man that Tanjiro would be training under, as he would then explain everything about Tanjiro and his sister to him, saying that he wants him to train him to become a demon slayer and send him to the demon slayer corpse exams, with Tanjiro then being sent towards the mountain he would live on. Gyu would wave goodbye to Tanjiro and Nezuko as he then heads off on his own path, with now Tanjiro on his way as he tucks the note into his bag, telling Nezuko to come along, as he would then have bought that weaved basket just like he did in the original, and Nezuko would then hop in on his back. As Tanjiro's still traveling along, he would have his hatchet next to him by his side, preparing for any more demons that might attack. As nighttime begins to descend upon the entire area, this would be when Tanjiro would smell something: blood. He'd hurry as he grabs his hatchet, telling Nezuko to stay inside the basket, as he would then see a demon feasting on human flesh. Tanjiro, who had been walking now for a few hours, had actually found the scent, and would now with Nezuko see the demon. Tanjiro would tell Nezuko to stay inside the box and that he'll take care of this, as he pulls out the axe, saying he's going to take him down. He'd run at the demon as the demon would laugh, as the two would begin to clash, fighting. Tanjiro would still not be used to the demonic strength that he has to go against, as he's shocked against this development, and continues battling. Nezuko would eventually come out as she tries to help fight, and battles against the demon as well, punching and kicking at it and scratching, with her and Tanjiro together barely able to fight it off, and the other demon being surprised that Tanjiro even smells or is with another demon. As Tanjiro finally dislodges its head with the axe, he would now have it positioned against the tree while its body tries to struggle and move, and Tanjiro would see as Nezuko's holding it down. With Tanjiro shocked at what he had done, he'd be watching in despair, realizing that these demons were once humans. He would soon come to realize the path that he was about to walk down. This would be when a strange old man with a mask, a red mask and a long nose would appear, as he tells Tanjiro and asks what the two are doing there, if he's really trying to take that beast off that axe, saying it's too blunt. Tanjiro would be a bit confused as he would then be explained to about the weakness of demons and how they can only be killed by a special blade or by the sun. The two would wait as the sun would begin to rise, as Nezuko quickly hurries back into her basket. The demon's head, which would now be in the sunlight directly, would then disappear as he dies. Tanjiro would then be asked the same question again from what they would have been asked in the original, and what he would do if his sister ate another human. He would then be slapped as he had not reacted fast enough, as he would then give his answer saying that he wouldn't ever let Nezuko eat another human, and that Nezuko will never be like that. With Urukadashi then taking Tanjiro as well as Nezuko back to where he lives, he would say that Tanjiro's training would begin that day, as Tanjiro then heads off towards the mountain. This episode is more of a setup what if for the what if parts itself, so if you guys want to see the next part and actually get into the story a bit more and Tanjiro learning snow breathing, then make sure to slap that like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this from me. I'll see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.